So tonight will be a little bit different. One, because I was shooting today. Trying to find the right light. So I was shooting today and I was about to call it a night, and I said, well, why not get undressed for the night and talk about what you wanted to talk about, so I can be comfortable, because this is not how I go to bed, y'all. Even though I have on my nice silk robe from a friend, Nips. But this is not how I go to bed, and I got some real shit to talk about. So we're gonna take this off. While I'm taking this off, we gonna talk. Okay, here we go. So like I said, I'm gonna be taking all of this off. I didn't really do much, but today I was shooting some content for my online store, my first e-commerce store. I'm really excited about it. I'm installing, putting stuff out just because certain things aren't how I want it to be, or it's just me in my own head worried about everything but what I need to be worried about, and that is, does it make me feel good? If it does, just do the shit. I was just talking to a friend about that. But this weekend was Father's Day. Excuse me. It was Father's Day. And I don't know if many of you know, but hold on, let me go get my facial stuff. So it was Father's Day. And there have been some interesting things that have been happening this year for me. Number one, 2020, while everybody is saying take it away for various reasons, excuse me, some of them have not been the best. A lot of people have lost a lot of things in 2020, a lot of people in 2020. And I am empathetic to those things. For me, there have been a lot of losses in 2020 in other ways, in people not physically leaving this earth, but in my life, there have been separations, losses in different relationships. I've experienced a very rough time. Like, for a second, I was doing too much. Work was consuming me. I had become literally an alcoholic. It's not funny. I wasn't trying to say alcohol. Well, I have been drinking more wine. Oh, no shade to anyone who's suffering from that. That got caught up, but I was becoming a workaholic. Everything was becoming about work. And it just wasn't, it was a lot of unhealthy things happening for me. And I think around my different circles, I was experiencing other people saying a lot of the similar things, and not even if it had to do with work, it might have been within their family, with their kids, just them losing themselves. So with that being said, once Corona hit, I'll show you guys what I'm using. Liquid black soap. It's one of the things that I use. I also use this other facial wash. It's pretty much gone, but it is from argan, all argan, all organic, like argan. But I got this when I was in Fort Lauderdale at one of their markets. A friend took me and it was a beautiful experience. I got some amazing products. So I go between those two depending on how I feel, but both of them do the job. So, what was I saying? So after all of that took place, I pretty much had an anxiety attack. And literally, let me take these off. Had an anxiety attack, and I went and I immediately, from those feelings of feeling overwhelmed, I was like hurting, I was angry, I was feeling some feelings that I have experienced before. And I'm gonna be looking this way, guys, so just some things that I had experienced before when I was suffering with depression. So immediately, just feeling those type of feelings, I was like, hell no, I need a fucking therapist. And I remember like the shit literally right before all this corona stuff. Hold on, y'all. Trying to get real. Right before all this corona stuff, before everybody kind of went inside in March, I literally, this is when all this was going on, and I had talked to a few close friends of mine, and was, sharing how I was feeling. And literally my chest was so tight with anxiety. I felt like I could not breathe. And it had, I think, of course it had something to do with the everything going on with corona and all of that crap, but also everything else that I was carrying. It just, I couldn't breathe. My chest was heavy and I did not feel right. And all of these things were weighing in on me, moving in unhealthy ways, being tired. Let me dwell on that for a second. If COVID didn't do anything, and I'm so grateful for this time, it showed me so many things. It showed me how tired I was. When you think about it, like, a lot of us have been working since we were teenagers. And also, like, the hustle and bustle of everything, it just had got to a point where it was too much. And I didn't realize, like, what was happening while it was happening, but I damn sure felt the vocal with corona. So, as all these things were happening, I sought therapy. I had to go see a therapist. And in my first session, which was amazing, I'm so grateful that I made that investment in myself to go see a therapist. My first session, I was diagnosed with higher depression and some mild anxiety for different reasons, and it was suggested that I would go for 8 weeks. I am now probably on week 11, and I can say my chest, I can breathe. Hold on, I need to finish this. So feeling much lighter, and I say all this to say, on top of everything else that was going on, in the midst of that, I got an overwhelming feeling. Just this rush of what felt like, I don't fucking know, a lot of shit mixed with missing someone that was like, has not been in my life for a long time. And I had this urge one day when I was working from home. This was, into Corona, and it was the urge to reach out to my father. Now, mind you, my father is in prison, and I have not heard my father's voice, nor spoken to him in probably the last 10 to 15 years. Yeah, it has been since I was in college, my freshman year, 2005. It is 20. Wow. Pretty much almost 15 years of my life. If you guys don't know, me and my father's relationship has been, it's been a freaking roller coaster. It's been up and down. One thing that remained consistent was I've always loved my dad. Never apologized for that, but there were things. So I ended up writing my father years ago, and I wrote him back another letter. It never got to him because he ended up moving, so it kept bouncing back. And years later, probably about 2 years later, here, 2020, motherfucking quarantine, here I am, and something comes over me. It says, reach out to your dad. I went to look him up in the system, and found his information, found where he was, and I put money on his books, and then I wrote a letter. And he immediately wrote me back. And that began our speaking again after 15 years. I let my dad know, I'm sorry it took me so long to write him back. I put some money on his books. I let him know that I loved him. And I just wanted him to know that I was there. I am willing to try, if he is willing. And it made me very emotional. I cried, but I was so grateful and so happy about reaching out to him. And from that moment on, I knew that things would be a little different. When my dad emailed me back, I cried again. And then it was like a feeling of like relief. While I was waiting on my dad to write me back, I looked at, like, over the years what he had been arrested for and things of that nature, which further confirmed that there was some gaps that I wasn't aware of, that he was, maybe in and out of jail. Some other things that transpired, but there were other reasons to why he was not present in me, my brother, and my brother's life, as well as my other siblings. So me and my dad probably have been speaking through email for about 2 weeks. Okay, so we feeling each other out. He's telling me he loves me. I'm his baby, all this stuff like that. This is my dad. His personality is like not changed, but this is through email. I'm scared and terrified to call this man on the video chat, even though I want to, but I'm like, I'm nervous. It's 15 fucking years. Or he my dad. So, hold on. So, on a freaking Sunday, I get a call, and I'm at the house just doing my Sunday shit. I get a call. And I don't know the number, so decline. Decline. And it's Sunday. First of all, I don't work on Sunday. I don't work after hours. And if I don't know your number, I'm not answering. You better leave a message. This number called right back, and they left a message. I picked up the phone, and it was my dad. And when I heard his voice, I was like, I froze. I was like, oh my God. I felt like little Janae, and my dad calls me Nene. I felt like that little girl when I heard his voice, and I'm like, he was like, hey, Janae, it's your dad. Pick up the phone. So my heart goes to beat, and I'm like, oh shit, he gonna call me back. I gotta talk to my dad. So he calls me back, and at first I was trying to recognize the voice, and I sat there for a second. I took a deep breath, and I relaxed in it, and I talked to my dad, and it was like 30 minutes of pure bliss. Like, I didn't care about the past at that moment. I just wanted to feel what I was feeling, which was good. It was a good feeling. I talked to him. He is crazy. He sounded just the same. He asked about my mother and my family. For that moment, it was like I was like my dad's little girl, like I remember being, you know. And it was special. So I was very happy. We hung up, and I immediately sat there. I didn't tell anybody for maybe a day or so because I needed to process what the fuck was happening. Next, we'll need some rose water. I had to process what was happening. I still was in shock. And it was like crazy. So I ended up telling my mother. I told a few close friends, and I was just like, I just couldn't believe the shit. So from that moment on, me and my dad continued to talk via email. And for me, it's been difficult because I still don't trust my dad to a certain extent. I am still working through issues. I still have to have conversations with my dad about different things, but I'm also still very open and also not being naive at the same time. Because as an adult, I am 33. This is going to be what it's going to be. I have no problem helping my dad, supporting my dad through this transition, but I also am not naive to the fact that this transition will continue after he gets out of jail, prison, and he has to journey as a man who has some relationships that he has to seek forgiveness in, work through, but also thinking about a personal relationship with himself. So that's a journey in itself. My therapist has been so amazing with helping me to remember things about myself to help me through this transition, and also reminding me, like, we're gonna get through this. She's letting me know, like, the day that you see him, like, I'll probably cry with you because this is going to be a journey, and it's not going to be an easy journey, but she's giving me the tools to help me to use my voice and to deliver things in a very in a way in which it can be received well. So yeah, that is all. That's all been happening for me. I have mixed emotions behind it. After all, he's my dad. I love him. I'm scared. I am hopeful. But Father's Day this year meant something a little different for me. It was, I felt hope. I felt hope. My dad ended up calling me a few days before Father's Day, and I asked him, how does it feel? Especially with, I didn't tell him Happy Father's Day. I wasn't in that space, and I'm unapologetic about it because this is still a part of my journey. I have to be very real with myself, and I just have to be honest and transparent in all of this, and knowing like I'm not ready to do all of that, and that's okay. I don't have to force it. But I asked him how he felt about it, and I just let him know I loved him. And me and my dad are a lot alike. And I wanted to get on here and kind of just talk about like how I got to this place, and why Father's Day was very special to me this year. I tried to place so much emphasis on certain things, but not even just Father's Day, but just reconnecting with my father through this year it's been great. I am hopeful for forward progress with my father, and as I continue to grow and I continue to strengthen my relationship with myself, understand things about myself, understand things about my father, about his upbringing, his environment, his brothers and sisters. Everything is starting to connect for me, and it's like the pieces of me are coming together as I learn more about who I am, where I came from, and that's special to me. So I just wanted to do this. I guess this is a story time. Is that what y'all call it? But just as I unwind, I wanted to share that with you guys. And if anyone is in a space where they have issues, or they're working in their relationships with their parents, just know that you're not alone. We all are continuing to work on our relationships with our parents. Even with my mother at the age of 33, we're still growing together. Just know that there is hope, and you have the power to make the change. And sometimes now we are in the place of being the kids, but we're adults, and our parents a lot of times are in a space where they're like stuck in their ways, or they're just not willing to be as flexible as us. So we have to take that into account, do what we need to do for ourselves, but be open to them. Be empathetic to them. Learn about them so that you can learn about yourself and understand more. Understanding is a big part of, understanding has been a major portion, a major part for me to give my dad more of a break, to forgive him, to forgive myself as well in the process. This is going to be a continued journey. I'm going to keep you guys involved. Hopefully one of these days I can record one of our conversations if I feel up to it. But this will be a continued journey until my dad is released. And, you know, I can only hope for the best. And yeah, so